Alright, welcome back to the show, everyone! Today we're diving into something that honestly changed my entire perspective on learning Spanish. It's about finding that Spanglish safety net, a way to basically fast-track your understanding and speaking almost instantly. I'm talking about Cognates. My friend Emilio is here to unpack all of this with me. Emilio, it's great to have you.
Thanks, Wesley. It's awesome to be here. And you hit the nail on the head. Cognates are truly a superpower. I mean, how many times have we heard people say, "Oh, I wish I could just understand Spanishes," or "I wish I could just start speaking right away"? Well, what if I told you you already know thousands of Spanish words without even realizing it?
That's a bold claim, Emilio, but it's one I completely agree with. Now, before we get into the how, for anyone listening who might be scratching their head, what exactly is a cognate?
Great question. Simply put, a cognate is a word that shares a similar meaning, spelling, and pronunciation with a word in another language. Think of them as linguistic cousins. Because English and Spanish both have strong Latin roots, there's a huge overlap, especially with words derived from Latin. It's like finding treasure you didn't even know you had.
Right, so it's not just about them sounding similar, it's about that shared origin. And when you start looking for them, they are everywhere. I remember being so intimidated by Spanish, thinking every single word was going to be completely alien. And then someone pointed out the simple ones, and it was like a light switch went on.
Exactly. It's such a confidence booster. That initial fear, that mental block, that "I can't do this" feeling, cognates just chip away at that immediately. You realize, hey, I can actually understand that. I can say that. It's the perfect entry point, especially if you're trying to adopt that learn like a kid approach, where you're not getting bogged down by complex grammar initially.
That learn like a kid philosophy is something I really resonate with. Kids don't sit down with grammar books, right? They just soak it up, they experiment, they listen, and they repeat. And cognates give you that immediate pool of words to experiment with. You can literally start speaking from day one.
Absolutely. Think about words ending in chiffon in English. A massive percentage of those have a Spanish cognate ending in ción, so information becomes información, action becomes acción tentación. Just by knowing that one pattern, you've unlocked hundreds of words.
It's incredible. And it's not just the acción tensión pattern. What about words that end in all in English? Like natural, animal, social.
Oh, those are almost identical. Natural is natural, animal is animal, social is social. The pronunciation changes, sure, with the Spanish accent and rhythm, but the meaning and spelling are practically the same. It's truly a safety net because even if you're not perfectly fluent, you can grab onto these words and communicate a core idea.
And that communication is key. I think the biggest hurdle for a lot of people isn't necessarily the complexity of the language, it's the fear of making mistakes, the fear of not being understood. But when you realize you have these thousands of built-in words, that fear just melts away.
It really does. It's about empowering people to realize they're not starting from zero. You're starting with a massive head start. Think about words like important, importante, perfect, perfecto, different, diferente, excellent, excelente. These are words we use every single day in English, and they're almost identical in Spanish. It's almost unfair in a good way.
Right, and it's not just nouns, you find them in adjectives and even some verbs, though perhaps less directly. The point is, if you're looking to get into that mode of speaking from day one, you absolutely have to start with cognates. It's the easiest win you'll ever get in language learning.
Absolutely. And it builds that initial confidence you need to keep going. When you understand a sign or a headline or a simple sentence because of cognates, it motivates you to learn the rest. It gives you a reason to lean into that immersion mindset because you're already understanding pieces of the puzzle.
Let's talk about some common patterns people can look out for. We mentioned cessación, tentación, and altuteum. Are there others that are particularly helpful for new learners?
Oh, definitely. Think about words ending in bl in English. Many of those become bl in Spanish too. Possible is posible. Incredible is increíble. Terrible is terrible. See, it's not just a few, it's entire categories of words.
That's fantastic. And what about words that end in ic in English? Like public or historic?
Often they become ico or ica depending on the gender. So public becomes público. Historic becomes histórico. It's not a direct one-to-one spelling anymore, but the core sound and meaning are so incredibly close that your brain immediately connects them.
So it's not always about exact spelling, but about the strong resemblance and shared meaning. It's like your brain goes, aha, I know this word, just with a little Spanish flair.
Precisely. And that's why this approach aligns so well with learning naturally like a child. A child doesn't analyze the ictódico rule, they just hear público and connect it to public because it sounds right and is used in a similar context. They're just absorbing, it cuts through the overthinking.
I think that's such an important point. We as adults tend to overcomplicate language learning. We want rules, we want formulas, we want everything to be perfectly structured. But sometimes, the most effective way is just to dive in and trust your intuition, guided by these safety nets.
Absolutely. And with cognates, you're not just guessing. You have a solid foundation. You can confidently say problema for problem or clima for climate and know that you're understood. It allows you to build simple sentences and start communicating, even if it's just a phrase or two.
I remember a light bulb moment for me was seeing universidad and immediately understanding it meant university or hospital. It was so basic, but it suddenly made the language feel so much less foreign. It was welcoming.
Yeah, those are perfect examples. Hospital is just hospital, hotel is hotel, color is color. I mean, come on. It's almost too easy, right? And that's the beauty of it. It removes that initial hurdle of having to memorize brand new sounds and spellings for basic concepts.
Okay, so we've established the power of cognates, but let's be real for a second. There are also false friends, right? Words that look similar but have totally different meanings. How do we navigate that without getting discouraged?
That's a really important point, Wesley, and it's good to address it. Yes, false cognates or false friends do exist. Words like embarrassed in English, which sounds like embarazada in Spanish, but embarazada actually means pregnant. Or exit sounds like éxito, but éxito means success.
Oh, that could lead to some awkward situations.
It absolutely can. But here's the thing, the number of true cognates, the words that genuinely help you, vastly outweighs the number of false friends. Don't let the existence of a few tricky words deter you from the massive advantage that thousands of genuine cognates offer. It's about focusing on the big wins first.
So the strategy isn't to be afraid of the false friends, but to lean into the true ones, build that confidence, and then you'll naturally pick up on the nuances and exceptions as you go.
Exactly. Think of it like driving. You learn to drive on clear roads first, right? You don't immediately jump into rush hour traffic in a foreign city. Cognates are your clear roads. They allow you to get comfortable with the vehicle, the Spanish language, before you tackle the more complex scenarios.
That's a brilliant analogy, and it really speaks to that learning like a kid philosophy again. Kids make mistakes, they say silly things, but they don't stop talking because of it. They keep trying, and eventually, they get it right.
Yes, and cognates give you that safe space to make those initial attempts. You can be fairly certain you're hitting close to the mark with words like familia for family or futuro for future. It helps you overcome the fear of speaking. That's a huge barrier for so many adult learners.
It truly is. So for someone who's listening right now and feeling inspired, what's their first step? How do they actively start using this Spanglish safety net?
My advice would be to start by just noticing them. When you read an English word, especially a longer one, or one with those common endings we discussed like shifidolek, just pause for a second and think, how would that sound in Spanish? Try to mentally Spanishify it. You'll be amazed at how often you're right, or at least very close.
So it's about active observation, almost like a game you play with yourself throughout the day.
Exactly. And then, start using them. Don't be afraid. Even if you only know 2 Spanish words, hola and información, you can still start. Hola, necesito información. Right there, you're speaking Spanish, and you're building confidence instantly. The more you use these words, the more ingrained they become, and the more courage you'll have to try new ones.
It makes so much sense, and it really supports that core idea of just starting to speak, even if it's imperfect. That's how kids learn, by just making noise and trying things out.
Yep. And it's not just about speaking, it's about comprehension too. If you're trying to listen to Spanish or read something in Spanish, suddenly you're picking out these familiar words. That makes the whole experience less overwhelming and actually enjoyable. You're not lost in a sea of unknown vocabulary. You have familiar anchors.
Those anchors are what build the bridge to real fluency, don't they? They create a pathway for new vocabulary and grammar to latch onto.
Absolutely. It's like having a scaffold. You put up the cognates and suddenly you have a structure to build upon. It's the most accessible entry point to a language that people often perceive as difficult.
It really demystifies the whole process. I mean, thinking back to my own struggles, the fear was so paralyzing. If I had known about the sheer volume of cognates and how to leverage them, I think my journey would have been a lot smoother, a lot less stressful, and definitely faster.
Exactly. It removes a huge chunk of the initial learning curve. You're essentially starting at level 5 instead of level 0, and that's priceless for motivation. The more successes you have early on, the more likely you are to stick with it.
So to recap for our listeners, the Spanglish safety net is all about identifying those words that look and sound similar in English and Spanish. You're talking about words like excellent and excelente, information on información, natural and natural. These are your starting blocks, your quick wins.
Precisely, and don't be afraid to experiment with them. Use them in your thoughts, try to say them out loud, and listen for them when you hear Spanish. The more you engage, the faster you'll integrate them into your active vocabulary. This isn't about perfectly mastering grammar from day one, it's about communicating and building confidence.
It's about getting rid of that fear and embracing the process, almost like a child learning their first language. Just speak, experiment, and let those cognates be your guide. Emilio, this has been incredibly insightful. Thank you so much for breaking down the power of the Spanglish safety net for us.
My pleasure, Wesley. It's such a fundamental concept that can truly unlock Spanish for so many people. I encourage everyone to give it a try. You'll be amazed at how much Spanish you already know and can start using right now.
And there you have it, folks. Go out there, find those cognates, and start speaking Spanish today. You've got more tools than you think. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time on Learn Spanish Like I Did.